Hello, this is Aram Kalustian from Melody House. Today we have a special guest joining us, a special drummer, a legendary drummer from one of the best progressive drummer in the world, Mr. Mike Mangini. Welcome to MNK.
Hello, thank you for having me, Adam, and thank you to Melody House.
You're welcome anytime. I believe this is not your first time in Dubai.
That is correct. It's my second time, except this time it's much more slow, a little more relaxing. I got to see the desert yesterday and eat some amazing food with a special host.
You're welcome anytime.
And I got to see the place a little bit, so it's really,
cool.
really relaxing.
Yeah, that's very good. I want to ask you like a couple of questions, and you've been with many bands before,
Yes.
like with Steve Vai, Annihilator, and Muzzler with James Labrie and Dream Theater. Can you tell us a little bit the experience? How was your experience with them in the studio and on stage?
Well, firstly, my experience with each band is something I approach. It doesn't matter what the band is. I approach it the same way. So I bring with me a dedication to the music to adjust what I play for what each group needs, what each band needs. Therefore, when they feel this comfort that I will be playing what they need, it makes the relationship nice and smooth. So my experiences have been great with all of the bands. Musically, I've had an opportunity to use different parts of my skill set, which I can explain a little bit about.
This is a different era as well.
Yeah, different skills. And the other thing is I've learned something differently from each of these piles of wonderful musicians. But the skill set I bring, first of all, is to recognize the music and how drums, I think, should sound in the music as far as the parts go. However, each of the artists has an idea of how they want the drums.
Okay.
So I have to work with people.
Closely.
Yeah, I have to work with them and not necessarily do everything that I'm hearing. And sometimes I don't hear anything. And I just ask them, what do you want me to play? And it makes them happy, makes me happy because I like figuring things out. And I bring rhythm recognition, so I recognize rhythms. I also bring a deep history of musical styles that not often people read my biography. Even the many places I go, my biography isn't read by the crowds. They don't go to my website. They should, because there's a rich history of orchestra and jazz and Latin and rock and metal and everything. So I'm bringing that to each of these musical situations. I'm bringing the pattern recognition and just a love of music, and generally a cooperative spirit to play what is needed. And then on their end, all of them, they present to me what it is that they require.
So you think like when you were performing with Steve Vai, or you're performing, why I'm asking this question, because Steve Vai was an instrumental band.
Right.
And Dream Theater, other band, they were like with vocal, and you've been in jazz band and the big bands. As a drummer, while you're performing, do you think the way how you perform is different than the instrumentalist band and the regular bands, like the singer?
Well, I'm the same, if that's what you. But so I just want to understand the question a little deeper. You mean performing on stage?
Yes.
Different with each one?
Yes, like you have an instrumental band, which is no singer, so you have more freedom to perform anyway. Maybe
No, it's all the same, because I will explain some connections between the voice and then the instruments. The voice is an instrument to me. I much prefer to know what the vocal is, because my drums, I play accents. So just to give you an example, with Extreme, Gary is very rhythmic.
Yeah.
So the way he would say some of the words and pronounce them, I would accent.
Okay.
Like on the China cymbal or something, a stack, he wasn't used to this.
Yes.
So he would react on stage, and turn around and look at me, and it would make for a really fun environment because he knew I was listening to him. So it was no different than if Nuno played a guitar line or Pat played a bass line. It didn't matter to me. It was all, everyone was an instrument. So
Okay.
I did that with every band. And with Vi, because you mentioned instrumental, I just listened to each of the instruments and would communicate with them in various ways to get them to look back at me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I would
got
have a
it. Yeah.
conversation.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. But what I did was, it might be interesting for you and everybody, is when it comes to the solos, I would pick a portion of each of the guitar solos to mimic on the drums.
Oh.
But I didn't want to overstep and play the whole solo like I did on my solo album. On my solo album, I wrote all the solos at first and made them match each of the drums. And so when I had Gus G come in and he replaced my guitar, because I'm not a guitar player, right? And I wrote it all on virtual instruments. He kept some of my solos and played them exactly, but then he constructed his own, and I matched my drums. But every note, I didn't do this with the other bands because eventually I could feel when I played too much of their solo and they would want me to stop.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Another question. You've been in Berklee for many years as a professor. Tell us what your experience and what you were doing there, the complete idea in Berklee.
Well, two separate things. One thing I was doing there was maintaining a stable job.
Mm-hmm.
I had been traveling a lot, and it felt nice to stop. So that's one thing, and it was work. Although I did a lot of drum clinics and I made a lot of trips, I didn't do any long trips anymore. So I enjoyed having that stability. The other thing is that I still teach, and I'm launching this big online program and interactive thing, very, very inexpensive. I have books, I have videos, I have all kinds of educational products and services because I get better when I teach. When I have to answer a question, if someone asks me, there could be a young person. Mm-hmm. I love having the young kids because they really could use my experience sooner than later. But it's better that they know so they don't get injured. So when I'm speaking to as a teacher, I learn. So that was the second part of my experience. The first was, okay, I want this stability and I just drive to work. I wanted that. Guy got it. And then I like to teach because I improve. And then I really enjoyed being a part of a curriculum so that I could weave in my own philosophies to the private students and help them get through obstacles. But it wasn't just what I thought. It was that the school, the department had an agenda and a curriculum. And I really enjoyed weaving my philosophies into their curriculum because I wanted my students to do well with their grades. Because they needed to play the curriculum. I graded them, but that wasn't their whole grade. So they could have been a wonderful student and they receive an A+ from me, but then they go to the test and they... So I made sure that didn't happen, and I really enjoyed it. In fact, I developed new systems. So I was always
It was always
improving.
about drums, or it's about music and production?
Well, it was mostly about drums and drumming, and it was also about life advice. I became the student advisor. It's a kind of being a counselor, but it's not the same, because to use the word counselor means that I have some kind of psychology degree and I'm an actual real counselor. I was not a real counselor, but I studied cognitive science deeply.
Wow.
With that helped me be a better teacher to relate to
Yeah.
people. So they made me, the quote counselor, but more advisor.
That's cool.
So it was also very, very satisfying to help people make decisions in their life.
That's very good. Next is about, actually, I was watching one of your concert with Steve Vai,
Mhm.
and I noticed this is like a long time back, and I noticed your drum set. The way how you set it up, it looks like left side mirror to the right side. And usually most of the drummers, if I'm righty, I'll do the roll on the right side. And your rolls was like a...
Yes.
Can you tell us how did you came up with the idea, and what is the method?
Yes, I can tell you that it's the same philosophy as when I work with people. It's always about the music. I decided that soloists play one hit per note. So if we look at a traditional drum set and we think about traditional drumming, the drummer does a roll, usually an even amount of notes on each drum, like 4. Pow. Okay, that's even. Soloists don't do that.
Yeah.
They play. That's what they do. So in high school, I played in the parade, the marching band,
Okay.
and I ended up playing the tri-toms, and they went high, middle, low. So I thought, wow,
Okay.
I really want a drum set to do that. I was not able to until the invention of the cable hi-hat. So once I had the hi-hats on a cable, I was able to put them above the tom-toms. So now I was able to do tom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in inches, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. That was the original apex setup with the hi-hats crisscrossed. What that means is that when I played with my hi-hat here, left hand, I had to play the bass drum with my left foot and the hi-hat pedal with the right foot, so completely lefty. Yeah, I
Okay.
had to switch. So here's what's important for you to know. There are two philosophies. One is it's musical. So it's because of the music that I want to hit, like, you cannot do that on a regular drum set. The second thing is
It's
I
like a
wanted to
concert,
play
Tom.
open-handed, so I could bring my hand up to really whack the snare drum and hit accents. So I could like keep a beat with my right hand, and my left hand could hit notes, accents, different pitch cymbals, because I was an orchestrally trained drummer with orchestra. So this makes sense to me. The third thing, this is really important. I couldn't play it when I set it up. Think about this for a minute.
Okay.
It was so difficult to play fully
So
lefty,
difficult.
right? And then switch, just like this, that I couldn't do it. So the drum set became a learning tool for me. It's like my mindset, every situation is a learning moment. Each group of musicians, I'm learning something from them. Each song, each drum set, each idea, each time I teach, everything is a learning process. Then I take it in, I change me, I publish new books, and then go out and share it. And it's a great cycle. It's deep.
It's indeed.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about the bands today. I mean,
Mhm.
Everything has changed. Social media, everyone is listening for shorter songs. What do you recommend? I mean, how do you recommend the new generation or the new bands? Do they need to record a full album or an EP, or they go one songs after one, like the band that you came up recently, like Monolith?
Monolith. Yes. The environment is different. Okay, so there are two things. There's advice I would give people, and which would be to take a pencil and a few pieces of paper, maybe several pieces of paper, and write down what the environment looks like that you are entering. Because with Monolith, the environment that I wrote down and saw was not the same as the one I grew up with. So you don't have to have an album. You don't have to, there are different rules, and there are almost no rules. It's the internet. People don't want to pay for music. This is crazy because it's expensive to write music and record it and have equipment. So you have to adjust to this environment and utilize it such that you have exposure, which will make somebody want to come and see you. You have exposure, which might make somebody want to purchase some item.
The physical CDs or
Yeah,
vinyls.
physical. Well, there was something with the quality of the music's better. So it's worth it, like vinyl, a vinyl album, or a physical CD, or even a video product that's extremely high resolution or something. You know, to not have to stream everything, but that's the environment. So all you have to do is make a song and say, okay, load, upload, publish, and that's it. It's not the same as before. And recording is a lot easier where we have the computers, the digital audio workstation, interfaces, microphones. You can record and see what you've done and change the sound. You can manipulate it. You can do whatever you want. Then you can produce it yourself. So this was unthinkable before.
Yeah.
People were at the mercy.
Have you ever imagined this was going to happen? Like
Not
before?
this. Yeah.
Like earlier, like when you were recording the old albums in the 80s or in the 90s?
I honestly could never imagine it. In fact, when I was making my solo album, I thought it was slightly hilarious that a person who knows mallet instruments, I can write on the keyboard. I don't play it, but I can write music on it. There's no way that I can take the time to learn guitar or bass to record like that. But with virtual instruments,
Everything become easy.
oh, I had a ball. I had a blast. I got a great program, great amp for metal and rock guitar. I would just sit and hit the chord. Just like, it was so much fun.
Cool. Talking about the music and talking about all this experience between the past and the recent days, how was the experience with auditioning for Dream Theater and the whole 15 years with Dream Theater? How was it? You can tell us?
Yes. Oh, of course. The first thing is that because of my schooling, I competed to be able to be in the, not only competed in the band to get the snare drum part, because you had to, audition.
Yeah.
But then you had to audition for the area band of all the high schools. Then you could audition for the whole state. Like my state was Massachusetts because I'm from Boston. So I had to compete within my band, each band. Then I had to compete in the district, it's called. Then I had to compete in the state. And then I got to compete for the country. So I was used to doing this. What you should know, because it applies to the Dream Theater audition, is that my very first audition for the district area, I failed miserably. Now, you have to understand, I could have played that part with my elbows, with my eyes closed, practically in a straitjacket. That's how easy it was. I could have played it with my knees. So how could I possibly fail? I destroyed it because I was thinking the wrong thing at the wrong time. While I was should have been focusing on my stick height, reading the snare drum part, my dynamics, my rhythm, my timing. Something switched in my brain, and I was focused on the judge. I don't know
Okay.
why, but I was focused on the judge, the clothing. I was looking at what I was wearing, and I made a mistake. And then I started to think the words. I cannot believe I just did that. I cannot believe I made a mistake like that. And I was getting upset talking to myself, and I made more mistakes and more mistakes. And I got flustered and nervous and I might as well have just been made of ice. And then you hit me with a hammer and just, it was unbelievable. And everybody around me was just so in disbelief. You know, my band director, teacher, all they're like, this is impossible. You know, what happened? So I thought about it, and I realized that the way to be a great musician is simply when you know what to think and when to think it. See, some people say, don't think. This is impossible. You don't have a switch. You can't think of nothing. You have to think. The question is, what should you think? When should you think it? So all of my books are written about this.
Wow.
And all of my auditions, maybe 50-something, I won every one of them after that. So you can imagine now, I probably would not have been successful in all these other auditions if I didn't make that really bad mistake, because it got me to think about what I was going to think about, which brings us to, in 2010, when I got a phone call to audition for Dream Theater. It was probably my 55th audition or something, you know. So I took the piece of paper, I took a pencil, and I wrote down, what will that environment be like? Who will be in that environment? And I made a list of all the possible things that could go wrong, the things that could go right. I did. Oh, I thought about this before I got in it. And that's the secret to my success with the auditions.
Now, that's very good advice.
Is to think about it a little bit. And so I wasn't so nervous walking in, you know. And I thought, well, what if I make a mistake in front of these people? Well, when I was learning the songs, all of it was mistakes. I couldn't play anything. I didn't know the material. I didn't know a single Dream Theater song, not one.
Wow.
So I had to learn it quickly for my standards, because I was traveling for 2 weeks out of the 3. So I didn't have the time that I really would have liked. But I did my homework. No excuse, no making excuses. I just said, okay, what's my schedule? When am I going to transcribe it? When am I going to listen to it? All of these things. And I imagined I was in the room. I used my imagination. So when I got in the room, I was already there. Like, hi. And I was prepared. Let me give you a quick example so you understand. Because they were so nice. They were really nice to everybody that came in. Very cordial to all the drummers. Very accommodating. Very generous. And I walked in with a bag, a duffel bag, you know, a handbag. And I had some things in the handbag. I put the handbag down, and I never opened it. You know why?
Why?
Because that was the emergency bag.
Emergency
bag. I had extra headphones in case my ears, broke. I had extra cords in case the cord broke. I had adapters in case they didn't have the right adapter. I had towels. I had pencils, pens, paper, and also I had transcriptions of 20 other songs in case they asked me.
Okay.
And I didn't learn them. There's no way I could play, but I would have sight read some notes just in case. So I had an emergency bag, and it just made me feel comfortable. Think about it for a minute. As opposed to my first audition, I was freaking out and nervous, and I'm always nervous. I was prepared. I did the best I could playing the drums. And just so you know, as a drummer, that drum set that I used for the Dream Theater audition, I've never played a configuration like that. Never. In fact, I had no room for the ride cymbals, so I put them up high.
Yeah, I
And if you
that.
remember
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
now,
I remember that.
with me, I looked at it and I was laughing. See, I thought it was funny. You know, I use my sense of humor to help ease my tension.
Okay.
And I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, this is going to be funny. So when I
Looks like
watched,
they were looking like two satellites.
yeah. So when I saw the audition video later, I was laughing. I was like, I can't play those.
You know what, Mike? When I heard about leaving Mike from the band, I was the only thing which came to my mind. It was you.
Wow.
So you were the only guy that can be in that
Thank you.
band. So when I saw the audition, I was like waiting because you were in the third episode.
Oh, yeah, I was in the first.
In the first?
I chose. I think I don't know. Remember? Did I choose first? I don't know. I don't know how that went, but I wanted to go first. I got first.
When I
I
saw
don't think I
you
chose
there,
it.
I was like,
Anyway,
they made the right decision.
thank you.
Yeah. So we'll go for something else. Like I know now these days, the social media, everyone is posting for 1 minute videos. Do you recommend this like somehow, or do you recommend the new generation to keep doing this, or do you advise something else?
I'm lousy at this. You know, I don't release enough playing videos. I just only since I was out of Dream Theater was I able to take the time to grab my videos, lots of videos that I made and never published. And I was able to have the time to edit them and put them out for social media. But I feel like a zoo animal. I feel like an animal in a zoo every time I go to put a phone to go record myself. It feels weird to me. I don't know what to play sometimes. And because people, if I play complicated, you know, there's everyone that's, oh, he's not musical. That guy's complicated. Or if I play really groovy, boring, someone will say, boring. I don't look at these people's comments anymore. I have a lot of people that help me do many, many things in my career. They look. And I'm just like, just tell me if it's safe. I mean, I don't want to see any of this. And if I do, when I do, for some reason, again, I think it's funny. I don't know why, but I just laugh.
Cool.
Who is this person? Or
So most
you know,
probably,
or they want to try to like give me a zing or something. I'm just like, and all I do is laugh. If they knew that I laughed at them and at the comments, they probably wouldn't do it anymore because I am making fun of it. You know, I was like, that's funny. But I'm having fun with it as well. It's funny to me.
from both sides. So because most probably they were going to ask you these questions tomorrow, because tomorrow is the master class. What do you giving suggestions, and how do you like to do the master class? Are you going to do the same master class like the previous master class that you did in Italy or in different countries?
I have the same systems that I use, but every class is different because I ask people in the class why they are there. This is really important because it engages somebody and it makes it personal. So I have found solutions to the most sought after things by drummers. I know the questions I'm going to get asked anyway. So in that way, that's similar, but I get people through obstacles. I offer solutions, and then I offer the philosophy so that they don't need me. When they learn what I'm thinking, when they learn exactly, well, what is the approach to the human leg and the mind and rhythm and working with people and being creative and improvising? What happens in here to be able to do that? Like, why can I do it and they can't do it? I share that with them. So I turn into, I get really amped up. I mean, I am into this. I am very, very completely all in, they say. You know, like when you're gambling and you go all in. I'm all in. And everyone can feel that. I am really excited. I don't put any break in it. I'm just go like, ba, 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 the whole way. And I come out, I tend to people. I make sure that if it's a physical thing, that I'm right there with them. So each class is made for the people in it. And then I take questions and I gauge how much time to spend on whatever subject.
That's very good. I mean, I'm very excited for tomorrow. Last question. It's something related again for the masterclass. Most probably they were going to ask, but I want to ask you as well these questions. When you have the material, either with Steve Vai or the Dream Theater, how you came up with the odd time signatures? You create them, you put the ideas, or it's already there, and you try to just to put as a drummer your ideas?
It's a mixture, and here's hopefully this makes sense. First of all, I have a very, very simple system where I can teach a non-drummer how to feel 1916 in less than 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Wow.
That's it. So I learned how to teach a human being how to feel something like this. And I published it. I won't get too complicated here, but long-winded to explain this system because I can talk a lot. So I made a very simple system in binary, on, off. The reason this is important is because many musicians don't know the rhythms that they're even playing.
Yeah.
But they can do it. There's some of the, there are arguments by people that, you shouldn't be technical. You should feel it, this, that, and the other thing. Well, not everybody has all that talent. There are some people like me that have certain talents, but not others. So I didn't understand some of these things. I had to learn it, and I realized that every single thing you could play, every style around the world, every kind of music, no matter how complex or how simple, the rhythms are odd or even. That's it. That's as simple as it is. They are either even, so you feel a beat, and it doesn't change, or they go in between. People can't feel that easily. This is why, this is my opinion. Well, it's more than my opinion. There's some science behind this to why this in-between music or progressive music is not as popular as...
I agree. It's not for everyone.
Well, because the human brain's not made to perceive this.
Exactly.
There's a study done at MIT College in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and they proved that human beings do not show up to the world with a very specific area of the brain connected. In other words, you have to want to connect this. You can only do it with meaning electrochemically. You can't go to a car mechanic and have them fix it, right?
Yeah.
So most
not
people,
easy.
Yeah, but nobody shows up to the world able to feel the in-between music. It's usually those of us that heard this music as children, or our parents played music that had odd time or something. Those are the kids that boink, one day they pay attention and it wires up. So here's the important thing. With each person and each rhythm and each group that I work with and each group of songwriters and me being a songwriter and a drummer, how did all those rhythms happen? Well, sometimes a musician just played and I recognized the pattern, matched it, told them what it was, and that's how that happened. Or it was written very specifically, like with Steve Vai, who of course knew every single time signature and subdivision and everything about it. So he would speak to me and say, I need you to play this in 11/8, but you can feel it in 2 bars of 11/16, but then you should divide it this way, and I would like you to hit that tiny little symbol on the 7th note of 11, and I was able to just bang, 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 then just do it. Yeah. So that was a specific relationship like that. It's different for everybody, you know?
Yeah,
It's
it is. I was trying to explain all these details, why you listen to more progressive metal, and it's not for everyone, but it's something inside. It's, you feel it, you know it, and you play it. Anyway, thank you very much, Mike.
You're
it
welcome.
was pleasure for us to be here in MNK studio doing the masterclass and the clinic in with Melody House. Of course, all the instruments supported by MEI. And we are
Thank
happy
you.
to see you in Dubai. Hope to see you again and again and again.
I hope so too. Just don't leave me in the desert.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.